Hello everyone! Today we're diving into the world of probability using tables and diagrams to make sense of all those chances and possibilities. Now, I know tables might sound like furniture shopping, but don't worry, these tables won't require any assembly. Ha ha ha! Alright, let's jump in. In this lesson we'll be using sample space diagrams and two-way tables to explore probability. Now, a sample space diagram and a two-way table actually refer to the same type of visual, a grid or table that shows all possible outcomes. These tables are incredibly useful for organising and calculating probabilities in a way that's easy to see and understand. So whether we call it a sample space diagram or a two-way table, we're talking about the same layout. Alright, grab a pencil and let's get started. Feel free to pause if you want to settle in comfortably. Here we go. Alright, let's start with a few key terms. In probability, we begin with the idea of an outcome, which is just the result of any event like flipping heads or tails. When we group outcomes together, we call that a set. And when we're interested in a specific result from that set, like rolling a 6 on a die, that's what we call an event. Probability itself is simply the chance of that event happening. We use numbers from 0 to 1 to show how likely it is, where 0 is no way and 1 is guaranteed. Then we have two other terms, union and intersection. When we take the union of two sets, we combine all their outcomes. When we take the intersection, we're only looking at what they have in common. Now that we've got some basics down, let's move on to our first big concept, the sample space diagram or two-way table. Go ahead and turn to the next slide when you're ready. Imagine we have a coloured spinner with three colours, red, blue and green. After spinning, we draw one of two symbols, a circle or a cross. Our sample space diagram, or two-way table, lists every combination we can get with these colours and symbols. Picture this as a table with 3 rows, each for one colour, and 2 columns, one for the circle and one for the cross. So for example, row 1 represents red and column 1 represents the circle. When they meet, they give us red and circle. If we want to know all possible outcomes, we can look at each cell in the table and list them all out. So in our table, we'd find red with circle, red with cross, blue with circle, blue with cross, green with circle, and green with cross. That's our complete sample space or two-way table. Feel free to pause here and look over the table if you'd like. Then let's turn to the next slide and keep going. Now, let's calculate a probability from our sample space or two-way table. Suppose we're interested in finding the probability of getting red with circle in our spin and draw scenario. First we check row 1, which represents red, and column 1, which represents circle. They meet at one outcome, red with circle. Now, to calculate probability, we divide this one outcome by the total number of outcomes in our sample space. Since we listed 6 total outcomes, the probability of red with circle is 1 out of 6. Or about 16.6%. This is where tables really come in handy, keeping everything nicely organised so you can pick out the right values for calculation. Isn't it satisfying when the answer's sitting there, waiting to be picked? Pause if you'd like to check that calculation, and when you're ready, let's turn to the next slide and look at some other examples. Let's use our two-way table to calculate a different probability. Imagine we want to find the probability of drawing a cross regardless of the colour. To do this, we look at the column labelled cross. This column shows all the outcomes involving a cross symbol. Let's say that's 3 outcomes in total. To calculate the probability, we divide these 3 outcomes by the total number of outcomes in the sample space. Since our table has 6 possible outcomes overall, the probability of drawing a cross is 3 out of 6, which simplifies to 0.5 or 50%. Take a second to go over that if you'd like, and when you're ready, let's turn to the final slide. The last tool we'll use today is the product rule, which helps us find the total number of possible outcomes when we have 2 independent events. So with our spinner and symbol example, we just multiply the number of colours, which is 3, by the number of symbols, which is 2, giving us 6 possible outcomes in total. This matches the 6 outcomes we saw in the sample space or two-way table, red with circle, red with cross, and so on. Alright, that's a wrap. Today we covered sample spaces, two-way tables, and the product rule, 3 powerful tools to make sense of probability. For those who are feeling inspired, here are a few topics for further study. Complementary events, or the probability of something not happening, intersections and unions for combining probabilities, relative frequency using observed data, and independent versus dependent events where one event might affect another. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more fun with probability. Maybe even throw on Don't Stop Me Now to celebrate. See you next time.